It's fine today. We can start. I can start the recording. Okay, fine. Well and good. Okay, so this is the course Applied Linguistics and the first lecture. And as you know that we'll have very basic uh, discussion about linguistics, about applied linguistics. And so instead of, discussing things, let's say, let me address you some of the questions, So some of the questions, let's say, and you know those questions and the answers of those questions. So to say, what is linguistics, or what is language? So if I simply ask you these questions, what is linguistics? And I'm sure that all of you have a ready-made answer to this question, that what is linguistics. You would say that linguistics is a scientific study of language or languages. I think this would be your ready-made answer, or anything else you would like to say. Anything else you would like to say? Are you listening?
Yes, sir. I think nothing else, and anything it will be under this ready-made answer.
Okay, so anything else? So I say that scientific study of language and languages, or let's say you can correct me also. I said language, you can say human language, and then maybe some people say yes, not only human language, linguistic and linguists, they also study the communication system of bees, even bonobos, chimpanzees, gorillas, that communication system of those people as well. So anyway, but this is the kind of ready-made kind of definition. What is linguistics, and what is language? And language is like, yeah. So what is language? Just could you just tell me, one of you, what is language for that matter?
So it's a means of communication by which people interact with each other or share their ideas or information.
Okay, so means of communication, others say that by which people interact and communicate with each other. Okay, anything else?
I think systematic structures of science or codes,
Systematic
words, and
structure of science. Okay, words and sentences and all. Okay, so more or related to semiology, semiotics. Okay, any other input? I can talk about many things. So if I just simply ask this question, what is language? I can say language is an identity marker. Language is a social institution. Am I right or am I wrong? If I say language is an identity marker, language makes us unique. It is species specific,
It
and
somehow
language is a
unites
gift
us
to
also.
us. It also unites us. Yes, it also unites us. Definitely, it's a communication, but unites us. And who said this? It unites us.
Adya sir.
Adherence. It unites us. If you look at unites us, it's definitely, we had seen that how, especially in India, how the state are formed. The state formation. So Gujarati, Bengali, all those many states. How is it formed on the basis of many languages, and many nations are created also, or formed on the basis of language. The recent case, if you aware of all this. Bangladesh 1971, Pakistan, East Pakistan and West Pakistan, and after that, what we had seen that, and there is no religious criteria as such, because Pakistan were mostly Muslim dominating state that time, but Bengali Muslims, but at the same time Bengali, and as a result, we had seen that emergence of a new state, Bangladesh, in 1971, and that's what it unites us, irrespective of caste, creed, and religion also. Okay, so it's a gift, let's say. So what we see that applied linguistics, so to say, applied linguistics or language for that matter, because applied linguistics is something like where language at the core, at the heart, so at the center. So we look at and language related problems. We see there are different kind of language related problems we face. So what kind of language related problems we face, our community people they face, and then we'll try to sort out those problems, by the help of the theory, so to say. The theory, whatever the theory we know so far, or the theory proposed by the linguist or different theoreticians in the field, we try to sort out those problems, you see. So that's what applied linguistics. So language is everywhere, let's say. It's ubiquitous everywhere. It's at the heart of human life, and it's specific, unique, and because of language, that's what people say, because of language we're different from rest of the beings. Rest of the beings, I'm talking about, let's say, whether you talk about other animal for that matter, or birds for that matter. So we're different, they do have a communication system. Definitely they have a communication system, but their communication system is different from our communication system. And if you remember, especially Charles F. Hockett, when he introduced this concept of design features of language, and there are certain unique features which the human communication system which exist. And one of the things is productivity, and it's so abstract. Their thing is also abstract, but there is more like iconic relationship is there. There are lots of iconic relationship is there, and their science system, but our science system here is so abstract, and so as a result, so many people they call it, our system is basically language, and later on many people who worked on in the field of evolutionary biology, evolutionary anthropology, or also glossogenetics, like especially look at the evolution, and that how we are separate from rest of the beings, and who is our ancestors, immediate ancestors. So what kind of genetical development took place so far. So they have noticed that the gene which is FOXP2, with FOXP2 gene which is there in human beings, let's say, and they say that okay, but that gene is not there in other beings for that matter, so different from rest of the beings, so it's a gift to us, and gift, yes, you can say gift, and more many religious tradition, many people say that it's a gift. The reason is that they say that God, this god or this goddess is responsible for language, and they have given us to the language. They've given us language, you see. So there are many traditional or folklore kind of understanding. You'll also see that in Indian tradition there are god or goddesses, let's say, are there. In Christian traditions also you will have that kind of understanding, you see, and the whole understanding of that, yes, if God has given us language, let's say, it should be one language. But why there are many languages in the world, more than 6,000 languages in the world? So especially in the religious tradition, people will say that yes, because people were so corrupted, people are so insane, so God wanted to punish those people so that they cannot communicate with one another, or at least face problems. So I'm not telling you something, it is already there, if you read theory of Babel, Tower of Babel, also in a Christian kind of understanding, so there you will find that, so it's because of humans insanity or that kind of things. That's the reason there are many languages. Okay, so anyway, so it's a gift to us, and it centers around our everyday lives. So everyday lives, let's say, without language we cannot think of human existence or our existence for that matter. So so we talk. It's not only we talk, we write, we think, So language makes it possible, language makes it possible. So we talk to our friends, we talk to our colleagues, associates, parents, or boss, if you are working somewhere, sisters, brothers, uncles, neighbors. We discuss many issues, whether the political issues, religious issues, health issues, world affair, family lives, gossip, backbiting at the same time. You do not like someone, start talking about that person, bad things about that person, and debate whether you like X or Y. So debate, agree, disagree, influence, or dominate by your language or by your behavior. So language, there are many things. So the way you say things, it depends. So it shows your dominance, let's say. One word or one sentence will show you what kind of power relations you are in. I teach a course, discourse analysis or discourse structure. Only one word can tell you that whether you are in a higher position in the society or in the lower position in the society. So there are many more things. So whether you are influential, whether you are dominating, or in the social order, in the hierarchy, in the lower and the upper, whatever, So there are many other things when you talk about language, So something like so these some of the things. Though there are certain things we do without language, people say that yes, there are certain things we do without language. Let's say grief at the times of play or listening music, for that matter, and looking at the scientific scenic beauty of nature, for that matter. But to some extent, yes, we do things without language. But deeper, if you look at the deeper level, more intrinsic level, you will see that yes, even if you are at the time of grief or play also, we also communicate, we also talk, whether it's a game of cricket or whichever the game, for that matter. We have different kind of discourse associated with those games, and so these are so language. The idea is that language centers at the heart of the center, and of our lives, So we cannot think of our lives without language. It is very difficult to think of our life without language, So language is natural to us. As let's say birds can fly, it is natural that human beings or whoever, let's say for that matter, the child born with, so he or she is going to definitely acquire a particular language. So as kind of duck can swim, or horse they can run fast. So it is basically natural to them. So language is natural to us, and as we all know that it is subconsciously we do acquire language, So, and if you have this, so to say, that language acquisition device, LAD, and because of this LAD, if even some people that they say that no, we do not want to. One second. So if some people they say that yes, I do not want to teach my child this language or that language, but if the child is given the exposure, definitely he or she is going to learn that particular language, So that's what we call mother tongue. Mother tongue is not necessarily the mother's tongue. So the tongue which is acquired in the environment. So I have lots of ample of cases, let's say, to cite you, give you reference that somewhere I was in Shillong. So one parent, one lady, Bengali lady, she is married to a Tamilian, so they speak in English. And since it is Shillong setting, the child goes to school, and in Shillong, what happens? Though it is government or let's say English medium school, most of the Khasi children, they go there. So what is happening there? The child, after a certain period of time, definitely the child knows how to speak English, but at the same time, the child learn Khasi, though the parents don't know. The reason is that because the maid servant and there are many other people in the neighboring environment, they do speak Khasi. Okay, so whether you like it or not, if the children is getting the exposure, so she's learning that particular language of that particular environment, you see. So something like it's a natural to us, and Chomsky's understanding, that's the generative understanding, that's what Chomsky says, that there's a blueprint for language in the human brain. Blueprint, and so that particular blueprint, Chomsky called it universal grammar, or UG. So every normal human child is born with this blueprint, or UG, or universal grammar. And this blueprint or universal grammar, for that matter, makes language acquisition easy, and very easy, not daunting, very simple for the children. So there are many things, many experiments were conducted, with bonobos, chimpanzees, and gorillas, that they thought of, teaching bonobos, chimpanzees, and gorillas human language, and they are not successful. Then later on, they are thinking that because especially the vocal cord, and their vocal cord, and not only vocal cord, the whole system, speech organs are not well equipped for the human sounds. So then later on, they tried to teach them some sign language. So Washoe, and there are many chimpanzees. Even there is a chimpanzee called Nimsky. They have given the name because of Chomsky. So Nimchimsky. So Nimsky, they call it Nimsky. But even after that, the chimpanzees could not speak well, especially the signs also. Only few signs they could acquire, you see. So the main reason is that, on the other hand, if you're talking about human child, whichever the environment, even if they're in the environment, they're going to learn, acquire that particular language. Okay, so this is where, so I'll talk about this whole universal grammar, how the parameters are fixed, especially and slowly and gradually. So if a child, he speaks English or Hindi or whichever, if the child is born in China or the Chinese parents, and if they are here in Delhi, and I know that one Korean professors, and they're I think they have 2 children here in JNU, but they speak fluent Hindi and Indian English, so to say. So why is this so? Because, and that kind of JNU kind of Hindi, or JNU kind of English, because that's the environment, and in that environment, those children, they have acquired their mother tongue, so to say. So Korean is definitely, they have learned it, but from the environment, they have learned Hindi, and they have learned English, so to say. Okay, so this is something like so why this course, applied linguistics, so to say. So there may be many questions if you're doing this course, applied linguistics, or interest in this course, applied linguistics. There may be multiple questions, not only one questions, maybe 100 questions, 1,000 questions, can crop up in your mind, in my understanding, if you're thinking about. So one of the questions, as simple as that how do we learn our language? Maybe this is the question can crop up in your mind, or language, you can divide language into first language, or second language, or third language. So how do we learn our language? What kinds of language skills one should have? What kinds of language skills one should have? So proficiency. So what kind of language skills or proficiency for appearing for a test, for that matter? Test. So whether they are testing your listening skill, or speaking skill, or writing skill, or reading skills. So I was talking about language testing and evaluation, if you remember, language testing and evaluation. So there are different kind of test, there are different kind of parameters that there, to test all those listening, speaking, writing, and reading things, So, and on the basis of that, I do not know whether you are aware of this TOEFL, GRE, many people who are going to abroad, they have to appear for this examination, GRE, TOEFL as well. So you have to have a good score, So anyway, so, and what are the reasons for learning second language? So if I'm learning second language, so what are the reasons? In JNU itself, we have different foreign languages we teach, let's say, whether it's Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and there are different foreign languages, as I told you. So the demand for different foreign languages, there was a time, especially in the 1980s, after 70s, let's say 80s, during the 80s and 90s, it was a high demand for Russian. Many people, and that's what a School of Languages started with Russian language, and then it expanded with other languages, other foreign languages in JNU. But nowadays, the demand for foreign languages, if you look at somehow Chinese, I do not know, after this Corona period, maybe Chinese, either maybe downfall of Chinese, or maybe Chinese will again shoot up. But Chinese, just 1 or 2 years before, it was like high demand language, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. And as well as language like French, always in demand, French, Spanish for that matter, always in demand. And also it depends on the kind of relations India has, with other countries. So now, talking about the relations, India has very good relations with Korea, mainly, and as a result, many projects, fund are also given to Indian government, especially for learning those languages. So there is lots of impetus, inputs are given to those learners, So there is and scope, job opportunity is enough, let's say. So that's what people opt for this language and that language. So what are the reasons for learning a particular language? And so there are different kinds of motivation people may have, so one of the motivation, we say that instrumental motivation, another is integrative motivation. So instrumental motivation is something like, what is instrumental motivation? Yeah, you need a degree, you need a certificate, you have something, let's say, something like very narrow. But integrative motivation is something else. Let's say you want to be accepted by the community, or you want to speak like them. So many people, those who have shifted or have gone to USA or UK, Great Britain, so they have that kind of desire, integrative motivation. I would like to speak English, either whether it's American English or British English, like them. So that kind of motivation. So, or people may have different kind of motivation, as I told you, that instrumental motivation, whether it's just for your degree. And okay, so the questions, as I told you, that there are many questions can crop up in your mind. So how do we decide, let's say, or whether we should teach our children our mother tongue or our first language, let's say. So if you speak Bangla, so shall we continue, let's say, do you want to continue Bangla or Hindi? What do you want to do? Or if you speak a particular regional language, whether it's Bhojpuri or Dhundari, so would you like to shift, or would you like to teach your children Hindi or English? Do not want to introduce Dhundari or Punjabi for that matter. So there are many people, so to say, we had seen that there are many people, they do not want to teach their mother tongue to their children. Okay, so this is one of the things we have noticed. And but there are many people, they are really keen on teaching their children their mother tongue, so there are different factors. So in such a situation, let's say, and in India, as we know that there are different languages, There are different dialects for that matter, or different varieties for that matter. So, so how do we decide the standard language? If you look at the whole Indian scenario, for that matter, 8 scheduled languages. How many 8 scheduled languages? We have 22 8 scheduled languages. And these are the official languages, so to say. And there are many languages. As I told you, the Rajasthani for that matter. So Rajasthani, different varieties of Rajasthani. So which variety to select as the standard language? So there are different kind of polity and politics, and also we had seen that the kind of cultural hegemony. In India, if you look at India's case, though number of speakers, talking about Sanskrit, only few thousands of speakers, but you will say that Sanskrit, there is a major push for Sanskrit, but not other languages for that matter, though the number of speakers would be more. So there are different kind of political, cultural, religious understanding, and also hegemony is also there. So one more thing also, which maybe the questions, let's say the questions can come and crop up in your mind, is that should the deaf children learn sign language? So which variety of sign language? Even sign language, if we're talking about sign language, there are different variety of sign language. Indian sign language, British sign language, American sign language. So which variety of sign language? In India also, there are different varieties of sign language. So one of my students, she is working on Indian sign language, and it's different varieties and kind of comparative study and all. So even if you're trying to teach sign language, which variety of sign language for that matter, okay? And so the question, there are different questions can come up to your mind, and something like maybe one of the questions like, should everyone learn a foreign language? And if the foreign language, so which foreign language? I think this one of the questions was asked by someone last time when I was delivering a lecture, that whether it should be English only or something else, some other language. So English, German, Chinese, and even for international communication, what could be the language? Whether it's English, German, or Hindi, what could be the international, for international communication? So should we promote, let's say, should we promote the growth of English as an international language or as an Indian lingua franca? Should we promote, or should we discourage it? What do we do? So you can have your own understanding and opinion. So and I was telling last time that maybe there are many nations, many countries may promote English, but there are many countries or many nations, they may not promote English. China may not accept English as a major language for that matter, may not accept. There are many countries, many nations, let's say, because language, when you talk about language, there are many more things that are associated with language. Language is associated with your culture, with your identity. The whole history is behind that language, you see. So abandoning or neglecting language at the same time, if you're talking about, so you are as well as abandoning all that kind of all kind of things, you see. And so as a result, what happens, and at the same time, if there is a language endangerment or language loss, if some languages are no more or in the verge of extinction, so at the same time, the whole cultural knowledge, the flora and fauna, everything is at the verge of extinction. So what to do? So shall we simply shift to the the major variety, or we should continue the whatever the vernacular variety we are talking about? So these are some of the things. There are some questions, as I told you, that there are many questions can crop up in your mind. One of the question could be language change. Language change, as we know that language change. So how do we look at language change? Shall we accept it, or shall we reject it, or try to control it? So can we control language change? And we had seen that in the history, there are many people, they came and tried to somehow control language change, and they always blame the young generations. that, yeah, these young generations are destroying language, ruining the language, but it's not necessarily. I know, let's say many years before Shakespeare, Milton, and many people, let's say Chaucer's English, nowadays if they come, it will be very difficult for them to understand the kind of English which is spoken in UK. Forget about Indian variety of English. It would be very difficult. And so what we see, that language change is a kind of natural phenomenon. It's a natural process. Okay. So this is what you need to understand. But there are some people that try to control it. That was, you should not change, you should not. So, and what languages should be used in law courts and official documents. In India, if you look at mainly most of the scheduled languages, but it's English and Hindi which dominates. Supreme Court and High Court, if you're talking about, it is, they are written in our constitution. Okay. And this is the branch, another branch you must have heard about, forensic linguistics. And we had, I think last week I conducted 2 or 3 workshops, seminars on forensic linguistics, and this is where we can particularly trace or identify a convict using our linguistic knowledge, let's say. So especially in phonetics, I do not know whether you are aware of this forensic frequency, a fundamental frequency F0, and we can trace looking at, let's say, especially the hallmarks of the speaker. So what could be the F0, and what, and not only the speaker, what is the hallmark of a particular community or speech community for that matter. If you remember that movie by My Fair Lady, that George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion, and that's the character, Professor Henry Higgins, though. So Henry Sweet, that's the professor, real phonetician. So in that movie, My Fair Lady, you will see that Professor Henry Higgins can exactly trace the person from where he is coming from, So looking at the phonetic, the way the vowels are produced and all, So, so forensic field has advanced so far. It's not only in speaker identification, looking at a fundamental frequency, but also if you look at other thing, let's say speaker profiling, even writing samples. People have different way of writing, and everyone has unique way of writing. Even if you talk about the handwritten thing, is handwritten, what about the calligraphy and other things also, you see. So there are many people, many questions you do have, or you may have, crop up in your mind. And so what can we for the, let's say, and also one of the things, language loss, or people because of brain stroke or brain damage also, they're not able to speak, they lost their language. And especially neurolinguistics, because that there are different language centers in the brain, whether it's Broca's area, Wernicke's area, angular gyrus. There are different areas are there associated with language comprehension and language production and all. So as a result, a person, because of brain damage, if they lost language, so what could be the remedy? So this is the whole branch. Let's say you must have heard about language aphasia. This is the term, aphasia. So one of my students, he was working with this, especially language aphasia, looking at morphological errors, especially the children they face, and anyway, so how can you help those people using your linguistic knowledge? So that is what applied linguistics come into picture. Okay. And as I told you, and you were aware of, there are many languages in the world on the verge of extinction. There are many languages in the verge of extinction. So if this is the case, so as a linguist, what can you do to save this language? Or if you cannot save the language, at least maybe you can write something about those languages, either write a grammar or compile a dictionary, or document their, flora and fauna, or maybe folklore, okay? And maybe if, and especially in the European countries or also American, there are different projects that try to revitalize many languages which languages are in the verge of extinction. So there are many efforts are still. So one of our professors from our department, now she has retired, Professor Anvita B. She tried to document, revitalize those languages of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So Onge, Jadwa, So there are many Sentilemlis. There are many languages, and especially mainly Onge and Jadwa. She has tried to do it, tried to give script to those people, because as you know that there are many languages, those languages do not have script for that matter, you see. So gave script those languages, okay. And let's say translation studies. So what are the best ways to translate a particular text, let's say from one language to another language? Though this is not exactly linguists are involved, mainly literary or many translators are involved, but linguistics inputs also do matter in many cases, okay. And how do we overcome those problems in translation, and so I'll talk about that aspect when I'll try to discuss about this translation and lexicology and lexicography things in, I think, the fourth unit. In the fourth unit. So there are many questions that what can come up in your mind, as I told you. And now applied linguistics, let's say. Now coming back to, just I try to give you the kind of background about applied linguistics. So there are many things we can look into in applied linguistics. And now, so what kind of aspiration we do need, especially in applied linguistics? And so applied linguistics is something like it's concerned with the relation of knowledge about language to decision making in the real world. So if you have, I think, read this book by Guy Cook, and Guy Cook, there's a, I think, line somewhere in page number 5, if you have read it, it says that applied linguistics is concerned with the relation of knowledge about language to decision making in the real world. So there's a decision making in the real world. So if there is some kind of educational problems or some social problems, let's say, so maybe to overcome those problems, you are giving a kind of solution. So you give a decision, not theory, but you give a decision. So one of the educational problems, let's say, you do not know which language to select as a standard language. So you try to standardize a particular language and give okay, this is the one. So in a country like India, let's say there are many languages, more than 200 languages, let's say. But what could be the language policy, whether it's a 3-language formula or something else? And if you are aware of recent NEP, National Education Policy, which was proposed in 2020, so it's also trying to promote mother tongue education or mother language education. So whichever the problems, let's say, so you try to give a kind of practical solutions to those problems, okay. And there are many other issues in applied linguistics. It's not so they look into, let's say, as I told you, the language hegemony, political oppression, suppression, subdue. There are other things, and especially in discourse analysis, we discuss these things in detail. So anyway, so I won't touch upon this much more, this thing, language hegemony, political oppression, suppression, and other things. But we also look at these things, especially in discourse analysis, okay. So, and that's what I was telling you, that the real problems and what are the things to do. So the kind of multilingual setting, let's say you are a teacher, and in India we had seen that the multilingual students in the class, and especially in the rural areas, not only in the rural areas, also in the urban areas, okay. So let's say you are in Odisha or in Bengal, so there is a language, let's say tribal language, let's say Kui, and state language is Odia, and some people they speak Hindi and English. So which language to introduce? to those schools or to those children. In Bengal, let's say, in Bengal is also a typical case. There are many, at least 4 language families you will find in North Bengal. So whether to introduce Santhali, Bangla, Nepali, or Lepcha, there are many other languages. So which language to introduce? But state, they try to impose Bangla, let's say, for that matter. The same thing, if you talk about North Indian belt, definitely Hindi. And as a result, let's say either Awadhi, Angika, and there are many varieties of Hindi will be ignored upon. But at least you can try to give a kind of a solution to the problem. Okay. So, and so mother tongue. So there are mother tongue education, mother language education. It was in many places it is practiced also. But let's say you are a teacher. So what kind of approach will you take? So it's totally up to you, And as I think I already told you that, especially in NEP 2020, if you look at NEP 2020, too much importance is given to mother tongue education, mother language education, or home language. They use the term mother tongue, home language, ///. Okay, and but still NEP. So you need more adequate plan and preparation for this, because looking at the Indian, kind of diverse kind of scenario, so it is very difficult if you say home language and mother tongue in one place. So home language in the same place, let's say home language or mother tongue, it varies. So and it's very difficult. So that's what I'm saying. It needs adequate plan and preparation, for us and also for the government, So real problems, we have lots of real problems. So we are visiting UK or USA for that matter. So what kind of English you want to speak, or want to go to pursue your PhD or PhD in UK or other European countries, let's say, and maybe America or some other places. So a GRE test, I was telling you, TOEFL. So what kind of motivation you do have? And let's say also you want to a job, let's say either you are a manager, product manager or something. So, or maybe working in a call center, MNCs. So which language, and what kind of English you speak. So you're working in Amazon or Flipkart. So, and other thing is that even if you talk about Amazon, Flipkart and other, so they also, it's not only English, but at the same time, in the search engine, if you look at, they cater to the need of those regional languages at the same time. If you start typing something in English, side by side, there is a suggestion also comes in English as well, you see, especially in the Roman alphabet. So and so if you want to expand your business, you see, so you need to somehow enrich your search engine so that you can reach out to many people, you see. And that's what and especially in pandemic time, as you know, that this big giant, MNCs, how they are doing it, whether it's Amazon, Flipkart and any other stuff. Okay. And something like related problem, there are many problems. I think told you that is related to script. So there are many languages, many varieties, they do not have a script. So maybe you can give a script, or maybe there are many languages, they have their old script. So how to revive that script, how to use that script, I can tell you ample cases of this script. Santhali had their own script, Old Chiki, and then let's say some people, they introduced Devanagari, and then Santhali people say that no, we are not going to accept Devanagari, and they wanted to go back to Old Chiki, and then but it's a mixed groove. So the same thing with if you're talking about Manipuri had their own script, a Meitei script, but because of this during this British Empire, Bengali dominated the whole region there, and Bengali script was introduced to those especially Manipuri, and now Manipuri, they are going to come back to their old script, but still some of the people are still using the Bangla script, you see. So what could be the solution? And what kind of script you should give, you know, so whether it's a Roman script, whether it's a Devanagari script or their own script, you know, so the whole script, so maybe you can contribute something, you know, try to solve problems, you know. So one of the case, I do not know whether you are aware of or not, it's related to Korea, the Hangul script. You must have heard about Hangul. Hangul, one of the phonetic script. Earlier it was logographic script. Chinese, Japanese script were there, and it's very difficult to learn those Chinese logographic script. So the Hangul script was introduced. Only few alphabets, only few characters are there, you know. It's one of the finest phonetic script, and as a result, what happened when this Hangul script was introduced, the literacy rate in Korea went up, you know. Otherwise, Chinese and Japanese script is really difficult. If anyone of you know all this script, then I can tell you that yes, yes, because you need to learn many characters. Same thing, let's say in talking about English. So if you want to be master in English, so hardly how many symbols, how many alphabets? It's only 26. But you want to master in Chinese orthography or especially script, it's many signs or symbols you need to learn. 5,000 is not enough. Maybe more than 5,000. Even after that, it is very difficult at times to read Chinese, you know. So then the King Sejong in Korea, they decided to do away with this Japanese script, and they introduced their own script, that is the Hangul script, you know. And anyway, so some of these things, so we can look at this, some of the things, what are the problems we do face, and what kind of solutions we can give to the people, you know, whatever the problems they're facing. And so I think today we do not have enough time, only 5 to 10 minutes we do have. So we'll continue our discussion in the next class.